All right. So, thank you for tuning in for the video that will hopefully round out this week of topics looking at long-term memory, explicit, implicit, and today focusing on amnesia and also the implications for these components of long-term memory for you as the educator, especially for little ones going forward. Hopefully it'll be super short. I'm going to try and keep it under 5 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. So first, amnesia. This is just a disruption of memory that can happen based on illnesses, based on degeneration, or an accident can cause it. So it is not just a single incident typically, but it is a system of interrelated components that work together in super interesting ways. Same thing as all other components of cognition. So first, let's start with what is amnesia. It's an impairment in memory function. It can result, again, from brain injury, illness, developmental conditions, and there's two major clinical forms. Anterograde amnesia, which is difficulty forming new long-term memories after a specific event. So let's say there's a car accident. You can remember things prior to the car accident, but from the point on your timeline forward, you can no longer create new memories. Retrograde, loss of memories from before it. Okay, this is probably the one that we hear about most, like Overboard, either the original 1980 version starring Goldie Hawn, or the more recent one starring Anna Faris and the guy from Acapulco. Either way, the idea is that there's an injury, they fall off the boat in this situation, hit their noggin, and can no longer remember their names. But they can create new memories going forward. So, anterograde, retrograde. So, I think in the book they talk about HM and how he could not consciously recall any learned material, but were able to then go forward with it. So to think of it in things that you might know or experience, if you've seen The Bourne Identity, this is where Matt Damon's character, Jason Bourne, he wakes up with no recollection of who he is. He has profound memory loss, but he still knows how to fight, drive, speak multiple languages. That is how, when we talked about last week, those implicit memories still remain, but his explicit memory is gone. Can this happen? It's rare, but it's a thing, right? It's possible, I guess. So just like Jason Bourne, real-life amnesia patients, they can't consciously recall their identities or their experiences, but they can still perform these complex skills. So that is where it is a true demonstration that our brain systems can manage different types of memories at very different components of the brain. So one part could be injured and impact one thing, but then the rest are still functioning normally. So those are the big components of amnesia. So now let's get a little bit deeper into the explicit. We'll touch on the implicit and the implications for you as the researcher, or the educator, sorry. So a little refresher, explicit memories, these are going to involve conscious, intentional recall, facts, stories, or events that we can look back to and tell a story with. Implicit memories, they are below our awareness level. These are learned skills, riding a bike, tying your shoes, singing along to a familiar song that you don't even realize that you know the lyrics to. You don't have to think about it consciously, your brain already knows what to do. So think about Finding Nemo or 50 First Dates, right? We're familiar with these, maybe? 50 First Dates is a movie with Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler. And the main character, Lucy, she loses her ability to form new explicit memories, but she has all of her implicit patterns. She still knows how to paint. She could still sing. She knows how to react emotionally to different routines. In Finding Nemo, Dory's short-term memory loss, that's actually pretty similar to anterograde amnesia. She develops emotional bonds and procedural habits, and all of that kind of shows that her implicit memory is functioning. So we have to understand that losing explicit memory doesn't mean that learning stops. It just changes form. So let's talk about some educational implications. Implicit learning is foundational. So children are going to internalize behaviors and routines before they can even verbally explain what they know. They're going to line up for snack time or share toys. They just know this implicitly, okay? They're taught it and they don't even realize they do it. Repetition is going to build memory. Consistent songs, consistent greetings, and routines are going to strengthen the implicit learning, the memory beneath awareness. This is going to be super key, especially in these developmental early stages. Emotion is going to enhance both kinds of learning. Think about that flashbulb memory thing that I told you. I wouldn't suggest pushing it to that sort of level of emotional engagement for your students, but having some sort of emotional component is going to help the children remember. Anytime there's feelings and experience attached to positive emotions, that is going to bridge these implicit and explicit memory systems. Next, you're going to want to support the development of explicit recall. As their language starts to grow, you can encourage recall by narrating experiences. Remember when we painted together? This is going to help create that knowledge from implicit into their understanding of explicit awareness. Okay, so taking it from the below the surface, bringing it up to the surface. And finally, you want to make sure inclusion for children with memory or developmental challenges. So even if their explicit recall is limited, they can still learn effectively through repeated exposure, cues, and modeling. So keep that in mind. Don't write off students thinking that they can't remember. They can. You just have to really make sure that you are doing this repetition, these cues, and modeling. All right, so make sure that you are intentional in your practice. When you greet each child, make sure you do it the same way every morning. Sing the same song at circle time. Practice routines with patience. And make sure that you're doing more than just managing the day. You are building that foundation for their memories that will last a lifetime. So it's kind of a big deal. So make sure you put that level of responsibility on it. Otherwise, go through and do your the bias testing. But also, I want to check out. Hold on. Stay with me for a second. I have something to check. Ooh. All right. So, yeah. Go ahead and send in that bias thing that I asked you to. And what I'm going to do is have that take the place of the exam. So do not do the exam this week. If you already did it, don't worry about it. You're going to get a pass on another week. So only the bias this week, skip the exam. I will send out a notice, but you should be watching these videos. I shouldn't need to, but I'm going to anyhow because I'm a kind human. All right, take care, make good decisions, and go do something fun and folly this weekend. Jump in leaves or whatever college kids do. Take care.